The story begins with a plane tossing and turning in a terrifying storm. Linda and her office colleagues were returning after successfully wrapping up a major project. Everyone was ecstatic when, all of a sudden, the plane hit severe turbulence. The explosion was so violent that the cabin walls blew away in the blink of an eye. As the air pressure was sucking people out, the terrified manager grabbed Linda's leg in panic. Meanwhile, another colleague rushed toward the boss, Bradley, for help. However, to save his own skin, Bradley pushed that colleague straight into the jaws of death. As he fell, that colleague grabbed the manager's leg, and thus, due to Bradley's selfish nature, two people lost their lives. When the plane crashed into the ocean, luck was on their side. The angle was such that it skidded across the water's surface, giving Linda a chance to unbuckle her seatbelt and swim out. After fighting a battle between life and death in the ocean all night, she reached an unknown island with the first ray of the morning sun. Linda regains consciousness on the island's shore and notices that Bradley has also survived, but his leg is broken. In other words, he is now completely helpless. Why did Linda hate Bradley? Because Linda was the company's most promising employee. Bradley's father, the previous boss, was about to promote Linda to manager, but as soon as he passed away, the game of nepotism began. The moment Bradley took over the throne, he robbed Linda of her right and made one of his sycophants the manager. Not only that, he used to torture Linda in the office every single day. Linda had the perfect opportunity to leave Bradley to die a agonizing death. But she was a smart strategist. She realized that if she saved the life of this rich man's son today, she would become a hero in the eyes of the world, and Bradley would be forced to give her the highest position in the company. Therefore, using her survival skills, she arranges for a shelter and water. When Bradley regained consciousness and saw that Linda had saved his life, his ego was shattered. He called the unsalted, unspiced fish garbage because he had never faced a single struggle in his life. To cover up his own incompetence, Bradley started shouting at Linda, demanding to know why she hadn't made an SOS help signal on the shore yet or lit a massive fire. He dismissed her selfless help as nothing more than a drama to get a promotion. Linda realized that words wouldn't break his pride. Without arguing, she simply got up and walked away. When a terrifying storm hit that night, Bradley's shelter blew away, and because of his broken leg, he couldn't even move. The next day, left without water or shade under the scorching sun, he reached the brink of death from dehydration. That was when he finally understood that on this island it wasn't money or power that mattered. Linda was his only god. The jungle's wild boar was incredibly aggressive and deadly. When it attacked Linda, she disregarded her own safety and used both her brains and brawn. She drove a spear into the boar's body, and when the maddened beast broke the spear, Linda finished it off with a sharp wooden stick. When Bradley saw the severed head of that ferocious boar, he was shaken to his core. Until now, he had viewed Linda as just an office employee, but now he realized she could kill him in a heartbeat. This is where Bradley's terror truly begins. When Linda spots a rescue boat, she freezes. This is the biggest turning point of the story. Linda realizes that if she goes back to civilization, she will once again become a caged bird. The same 9-to-5 job, the same taunts from the boss, the same slavery. But on this island, she is free. She is the queen here. Therefore, she quietly lets the boat sail away. Bradley was miserable in this wild life, so he secretly built a raft. To get Linda out of his way, he poisoned her food with toxic berries. Linda collapsed into unconsciousness, but nature had other plans. The moment Bradley pushed his raft into the ocean, a massive wave smashed it to pieces, dragging him under to drown. The moment Linda regained consciousness, she saved Bradley once again because she didn't want him to die that easily. When Bradley came to his senses and begged for forgiveness, Linda fed him a crab laced with the venom of a blue-ringed octopus, one of the most venomous creatures on Earth. Due to this poison, Bradley's mind remained fully functional, but his entire body became paralyzed. Linda heated up a knife and stripped off Bradley's pants. Bradley couldn't move. He could only watch death approaching with his own eyes. Linda slashed with the knife and blood splattered. Bradley thought one of his body parts had been severed, but Linda, showcasing her brutal cunning, showed him a dead, mutilated rat. She instilled so much terror in Bradley's mind that he could no longer dream of crossing her. Just when everything was under Linda's complete control, Bradley's fiancée, Jenny, arrives on the island with a private guide. Jenny hadn't given up hope for months. Now, the threat of losing her freedom loomed large over Linda. If Jenny took Bradley away, Linda's kingdom would come to an end. Putting on a fake smile, Linda won Jenny's trust. On the pretext of helping them, she led Jenny and the guide to a part of the jungle where the ground underneath was completely hollow and unstable. Very cleverly, Linda pretended to tie her shoelaces and asked Jenny and the guide to move ahead. The moment Jenny took a step, the ground caved in and she plummeted straight into a deep abyss. To protect her island empire, Linda had decided to sacrifice two innocent lives. When Jenny fell into the abyss, her guide somehow managed to survive. Linda was utterly terrified from within and became lost in thought about what to do next. After a while, leaving the guide behind right there, she returned to Bradley alone. After returning from the cliff, Linda began to break down internally. She couldn't believe that for the sake of mere freedom and a life of comfort, she had taken an innocent life, Jenny's, with her own hands. When a panicked Bradley asked Linda to go into the jungle and fetch food, Linda made an excuse of being sick. Bradley sensed that something was amiss. He secretly stole Linda's knife and headed into the jungle to hunt for himself. In the jungle, Bradley was chasing a small wild boar. Suddenly, he noticed a human hand protruding from the spot where the boar was digging the dirt. As he drew closer to investigate, the ground slipped beneath his feet. That hand belonged to his fiancée Jenny, and the very same engagement ring was still shining on her finger. Mad with rage and hatred, Bradley ran straight back to Linda. Flashing the ring, he screamed, "Why did you do this?" Linda realized her crime had been exposed. She tried to dismiss it as an accident and reached for her waist to defend herself, but her knife wasn't there. Seeing Linda unarmed, Bradley raised the knife to kill her. To save her life, Linda bolted into the dense jungle and Bradley pursued her like a hunter after its prey. While running through the jungle, Linda pretended to hide behind a tree. The moment Bradley stepped there after spotting her shadow, he found nothing but Linda's shoes, their laces missing. Before Bradley could wrap his head around it, Linda ambushed him from behind. Linda wrapped her shoelaces around Bradley's neck from behind and choked him. Bradley began to suffocate and thrash around in agony. In the violent struggle, the knife slipped from Bradley's hand and clattered to the ground. Summoning his last ounce of strength, Bradley grabbed Linda by her hair, threw her through the air, and slammed her to the ground. He mounted her and began shoving her face into the mud to suffocate her. Just then, Linda's hand brushed against the dropped knife. She slashed blindly, and by the time she wiped the mud from her eyes, Bradley had vanished from the spot. Out of sheer terror, Bradley had fled toward the exact toxic zone that Linda had forbidden him from entering. Linda smiled and did not give chase. However, as Bradley pushed forward, he encountered no thorns or poisonous vines. Nestled between two massive cliffs, Bradley spotted a highly luxurious modern villa. It finally dawned on him that this was no deserted island, but rather the private island of some wealthy individual. Filled with hope, Bradley rushed inside, flipped on the lights, opened the refrigerator, and began chugging water. The moment Bradley drank the water, Linda's voice echoed through the speakers of the entire villa. Laughing through the intercom system, Linda revealed that the entire story about the poisonous fruits and thorns was completely fabricated, invented solely to keep Bradley from ever reaching this villa. Linda revealed the whole truth. She had found out about this villa through the supply ship that visited the island. She had secretly watched and noted down the villa's door password. The real owner of the villa rarely came here, so Linda lived luxuriously like a queen, cleaning everything up and turning back into a wild survivor right before the owner's arrival. However, Jenny's arrival had ruined her game. Just then, Linda stepped out of the shadows holding a hunting shotgun. Terrified, Bradley fell to his knees and began to beg. To save his life, he started spinning lies. "Linda, I have truly fallen in love with you. I won't go back to the city. We will live here together." Linda saw right through his cunning words. Just then, her eyes fell on a severed bull's head statue behind him, which was missing one of its horns, meaning Bradley had hidden that horn and turned it into a weapon in his hand. Linda instantly grabbed a nearby golf club. Realizing the act was over, Bradley pulled the trigger of the shotgun, but the gun was empty. It was Linda's trap. She had already taken out the bullets beforehand. The moment the trigger clicked, Bradley froze in shock. Before he could recover, Linda landed one fatal blow after another on him with the heavy golf club. The final strike hit Bradley's head so hard that his skull fractured and he dropped dead on the spot. Linda thoroughly cleaned the entire villa, erasing all evidence of Bradley and Jenny. When the rescue team arrived, she presented herself as the sole surviving innocent victim of the tragedy. In the eyes of the world, Linda had become a survival miracle. She wrote books and gave interviews about the fake story of this horrific accident, quickly becoming an incredibly wealthy and famous celebrity. Her bloody game, which began on a lonely island, had now become a crown of success in the real world.